Moving on to item 5C, and this is pages 76 through 85. This is in the employee handbook, and it's about changing expectations. You had a copy of what's in there today, and it's just changing the personnel policies, work hours, expectations, overtime pay, just again clarifying some of the things that have been in the personnel policy sections. So I'm not going to go through and read each one. If you want to have it further on it, we'll go further.
Did everyone understand the crossed out underline? Okay, I just want to make sure, because sometimes that can get a little bit confusing. There was, in some sections, there was quite a bit added to it, and addressed some concerns that were expressed related to the on-call duty. That is one of the areas that I know is always of interest in how that functions, and a lot of it is based on case law, and wage and hour decisions, and out of the courts, as well as just what occurs within the industry. And the main thing to understand there is that we do have a choice. We could operate in shifts and have certain employees work a different shift than others to make sure that we had coverage. That certainly, with our small staff, is not a very efficient way to do it. So we do have people that work a full-time shift and then carry a cell phone after hours and have to be ready to go out and work at all hours. This morning it was 3 o'clock in the morning. And that occurs on a fairly regular basis. It's not all the time. But anyway, there is an expectation that they will respond. I needed a little bit more clarity in it and a little more teeth to it. But I also need everyone to understand that we can't restrict people's free time to the point where we should be paying them the salary, which is there's a fine line, but the courts sure argue it very well. It happened when somebody wasn't allowed to go to their son's soccer game, and because it was they couldn't meet a reasonable time getting back of 15 or 20 minutes or whatever it was, and so it restricted their ability to be able to have free time. And the court found that they were being asked to work shift work, and they had to pay the shift work for the back hours. So we got to be really careful about on-call. But we don't have a huge issue there as far as the cost or controversy with it. But that was the one that had the most changed language. The cell phones and answering the cell phones and being responsible for the district cell phone is something that we needed a little bit of clarity in the language. On attendance, interesting that it was pretty loose, and there was many cases where there were general manager memos in the file that were shown to me that gave the employees a lot of flexibility outside of what would normally be outside of this policy, basically. And so, although one could argue that when we're talking about attendance, that's procedural and not policy, I see this language as policy language, giving me good guidance on how to manage the staff. When we get to vehicles, that was added in there. There was some language in already I added to that to be more clear. I moved the on-call operator using that into that particular section, into the district vehicles. The responsibility that the vehicle be kept clean, that there's a pre-trip inspection, a lot of things that that are part of the vehicle maintenance program as well. But just making sure that those things were completed. And then there's a lot of language in here also that I wanted to make sure that you saw was being deleted, because there was a lot of confusion when we talked about the medical benefits policy. There was a lot of reference to the 2200, 2300 series policies, which were the first policies in effect. Then the personnel handbook was put together, and then we referred back to the other policy, and it made it really difficult because they weren't included together, and in many cases they conflicted with each other. So this gets rid of the older version of the policy, includes it all in this language for the personnel manual, but I'm telling you, we're probably still going to separate it out one page at a time so that they're separately numbered individual policies, but all in the same manual. There won't be any reference to an outside set of policies. And then every time you adopt and amend any of these policies, at the top of the page will be its original adopted date and every amendment done listed on the sheet, so that you know every time it was amended. You can ask for a copy of the minutes to make sure that it's correct. And anyway, good stuff. Just a lot of changes.
My turn, I guess. I'll start with, this is really good, Pete. This is the reason we hire somebody like you. You're so good at this kind of stuff. Investigating these things, finding it out, cleaning up the mess. I really have to commend you because I've had to do this kind of stuff, and it's very difficult to go back and find stuff. I'll get on a little soapbox that I always do. I looked at it, I had the Ralph Felix handbook, I said his name and everything. And I really wish that we could, when we get done with this handbook, if we're going to have one, that in the back there's a place for each board member to sign his name back there and date. Because I know as soon as we're sitting here, when I'm 90 years old, some guy from the district's going to come up and say, remember in 2016, Emery, at that board meeting where you said so-and-so and such and such? And I say, is my name in the back of the book? And I'll go get my book and say, I'm not there, so it's somebody else. I wish we could sign this stuff and be, and just a back page. This is the board that did this, And if there's a new handbook, then a new board can do it. And ours is gone. I just wish we could do that. We used to do that with labor contracts. They're always signed and dated in the back with the person's name. And if we had an employee representative, he'd be there or the manager. I just think we should do that. These things, there's so many of them I got laying around my wife's office. I just have to, which one is that? Oh, that's that. There's a bunch of them. Do you want to add that to the motion? Is that a motion? Is it comment?
Just for clarity, it's a good point, and that is a specific responsibility of the Secretary of the Board, and that is, it is the official records. It is supposed to be stamped and signed, and when there's a new policy, that it's got to be taken very seriously, and it's got to be put into place, and people told to get rid of their old version, and I agree. I think there should be a signature page for the board secretary, and that is signing on behalf of the board. And when you look at it, if you wouldn't put your signature on it, then we need to have a conversation.
I'll move approval of this.
We're having comment.
Go ahead.
I'm not from a governmental background. I come from industry, and I read every word of this thing, and it dovetails exactly with what I would expect to see at any well-managed thing, having maintenance and stuff, or contracting type stuff. It looks like it's well done, and it's something I can support.
Your turn.
My turn. I am from governmental, and I think this is very well written. I think it closes a lot of holes, and it clarifies expectations. Everything can be changed to be better, and in the future, someone else will change this and make it better, and that's just the nature of the beast. But the one thing I would like to call out on it is that this was written taking into consideration that we were okay with the restructuring the organizational charts and job titles and things of that nature. And in here, operations manager is referenced quite a bit. So if we're not going to proceed with that change, we should not proceed with changing that in the handbook as well. That's my governmental past standpoint.
I'll open that up where
Yeah, and you can
it's
put supervisor.
it doesn't call
Yeah,
out.
and I was looking for the right words to use for that, and I couldn't even think of those words. But to say manager is putting the cart before the horse, because we haven't said that that individual or individuals are managers yet.
Yep, perfect.
But you can tell you put some time into this, and aside from what we discussed via email, I think it's outstanding.
So under those recommendations, I'll move approval and all employees and add this, and all employees to receive a copy and sign their acknowledgement.
That's your motion?
That's my motion.
No second.
Second. Does the addition of the additional comment make sense? Okay, you're okay with it?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Public comment? Is that policies? Personnel policy, okay. Nobody? All right, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. All right, we're moving along. Item 5D. This is review of the 2015 Proposition 84 Integrated Regional Management Implementation Grant. This is more informational than anything, so I'm just going to turn this conversation over to Pete. And if you're looking for the pages in your packet, I didn't go through 86 through, I didn't write this one down.
112.
112, 112.
111.
Okay. So, thank you.
I am not trying to throw a bunch of paper at you. I wanted to make sure that I took the time to explain why you were getting everything. Because this is going to consume the next 2 years of our life in moving these projects forward. And I'll tell you, I really appreciate the board's support in moving these forward, and the Mariposa County RCD in supporting our application to this program. It's $1 million that are for useful projects, needed projects that our customers won't have to pull out of their pocket, which is a big chunk of change. So as you see, the money is allocated in a grant agreement. This is a typical standard grant agreement. The only thing that I didn't include were the standard conditions that the state where you are, IRWIC grant agreements have. You're certainly welcome to ask for the additional pages. I think it might have been 20 pages more, because it doesn't, it's, in order to sign the grant agreement, you've got to comply with those requirements. We're prepared to comply with those requirements, but the grant agreement says a lot. It also references the work plan, which you saw at a prior meeting. And the work plan is then associated with the budget that is at the very end of this, that is the last couple of pages.
Doesn't the grant agreement start on page 89?
86.
The agenda item starts on 86.
86, and then I give a detailed summary on 86, 87, and 88.
But 89 is the grant agreement, right?
89 starts the grant agreement. And then I provided the full grant agreement, and again, that came up from public comment in prior meetings.